Hello everybody, Kalo here. Hope you're doing well. Today, I bring you something juicy about a genre we don't often hear about in the indie scene. Take a seat and let me tell you about the latest game of the STASIS anthology, a point-and-click game with isometric view, described as an adventure that will delight fans of both Alien and Disco Elysium alike. It has the ambience, the puzzles, the music, the drama. Yes, today we're talking about... Developed by the Brotherhood games, STASIS Totem made its debut on March the 31 of 2023 and won 4 Aggie Awards to Best Adventure of 2023, Best Non-Traditional Adventure Game, Best Graphic Design, and Best Character in an Adventure Game, amongst other prizes. With this delivery, Brotherhood Games presents us with the 4th game of their catalog, a story that goes all the way back to 2013, that began with Christopher and Nicholas Bischoff, a Kickstarter and a dream. Or you see, life gives many twists and spins, and you can never know where it will take you. For them, it took a detour of 13 years working in their successful 3D illustration company. Things were going great, they were at their peak, but the stress became too overbearing to handle, and Christopher had other passions and ideas. There was this little project on the side that Christopher had been working on every now and then for 2 years, a small adventure game called STASIS. Around that time, Kickstarter became a thing. We all know Kickstarter, yes, the platform where many creators can upload their projects and have people help them fund it, like potato salad? Well, Christopher convinced his brother to give it a shot so that he could finish the game. And so they ventured into it. Why not? They weren't all that new to making games. Back in the day, they would make simple computer games using software such as Click and Play and Multimedia Fusion. They had the tools, the knowledge, and most importantly, the business handling experience now. In his own words, Kickstarter gave us the confidence to go forward with the project. It also made us accountable. We had to get it done. The game was successfully funded. They got thousands and thousands of dollars. Yet, there's many hidden costs in game development. So in order to keep things afloat, they were pretty much working 2 jobs for 18 months to ensure that the product was finished and good. But that was a long time ago. The STASIS was a success. And now, here we are, talking about the latest delivery of the saga. STASIS Totem puts us in the shoes of 3 characters, a couple called Meg and Charlie and their super teddy bear toy, Moses. They travel around the ocean, searching for scrap and old goods to sell to make bank. Though the business isn't going all that well. The letters are piling up just like their debts, so when they see an oil rig within the distance, they go to give it a look.
C-15! Shit! It's a Cade Corp rig!
Still no response. No comms, no power.
Maybe they bugged out! Just left instead of dismantling her proper!
Only one way to find out.
The place is abandoned. Nobody's responding. It's nighttime, the waves are all sorts of high. The place is scary, but debt collectors are worse. They cannot just drive away from this one. They need the money. Charlie knows this, so she pushes through. Everything is going to be just fine. Until she finds a corpse.
Oh my god.
Charlie, what is that?
It's a body.
Okay, that's it. Get back to the boat.
No, Mac. It's okay.
It's okay? It's a body. A really messed up one, too. We're out of here. Authorities can deal with this.
It's not like we haven't seen bodies before. Remember the Starfall?
That was different. It was a contract. We knew there was going to be...
And now we know the same thing here.
Charlie.
We can do this.
We don't have any idea what's going on here. Whatever killed him could kill us too.
Exactly. We don't know. We don't know if it's dangerous or if it isn't. So, we stay until we find out.
Charlie.
Just a little further, Mac. We need this. We need it. You know I'm right.
I'm sure we are all on the side of Mac here. This is way too dangerous, but Charlie feels optimistic about this place. They've been working on this business for a very long time and they know their way around all technology. They just gotta keep going a bit more. Charlie really wants to believe that there has to be something valuable here in this abandoned oil rig. Something to get them out of their precarious situation, cause, you know, hope dies last. Or does it?
Hope. I keep waiting, but fool's errand never hurts any less.
Through your gameplay, you'll have to juggle between our 3 protagonists to solve the puzzles that come in their way. Each one has their own mechanic. Charlie can join and fix items. Mac has a strong robotic hand that allows him to break and separate them. But what about the teddy bear? Well, he's been upgraded a bit by Charlie so that he can hack into systems and rewrite their code as well as permits.
I am a very smart bear now.
If you ever find yourself stuck in a puzzle, your character will give you a hint. And if that doesn't work, there's this super cool amazing guide that the developers did with the answers. I have it and used it too as a matter of fact, but only as a last resource, I promise. Now, this is the part where we get to the sauce of the video. I contacted the developers of Brotherhood games to ask them a few questions about their work and journey. Hope you enjoy it. First of all, thank you guys for agreeing to the interview. I've seen some of your YouTube videos through my research, and I think it's very sweet how your interest in 3D media began because of your father. So, my question is, would you say he had an influence in your taste for sci-fi and horror as well? Talking a bit from experience here because I grew up watching a lot of movies with my father, and he was the one to introduce me to Ridley Scott and Spielberg's work, for example.
Our parents are both extremely creative. My father is an architect with a special interest in 3D technology, and my mom's a fine artist and art instructor, so they most definitely helped aim us in that creative direction. However, I think our love for sci-fi can be traced back to some family friends. My parents used to visit their friend's house, and to keep us entertained, they put on Star Wars on the TV. Back then, I don't think I really understood the story, but the world drew me in. The lived-in space, the rust, the gadgets, the clanking sound. I think that hard edge to sci-fi has stayed with us all these years. I think sci-fi lovers are very much aligned with storytelling and fantasy world creation, and this has always appealed to us both.
Do you have any previous studies or experience before creating the studio? Or was it more a matter of learning by doing?
I'm self-taught in game development and art. Before diving headfirst into computers, Nick and I would create our own board games, card games, even toys and contraptions from Legos and cardboard since we were small kids. I'm very much a hands-on learning kind of person, so when we realized we could use computers to make those games, it felt like a match made in heaven. We ran our own 3D marketing company for many years before delving into games, and that experience proved invaluable in figuring out how to turn this passion into a business. You can read as many management books as you can, but nothing beats the real experience of facing deadlines and on-the-spot problem solving that you have to do when running your own business.
So about the STASIS anthology. For how long has this story been in the making? I have the notion that you didn't get to work on it until 2013 or so, but was it a story that you had thought of before the studio's creation?
Nick and I talk about stories and worlds all the time. The story and world of Stasis only seems to come together when we actually sit down to write the games. But they're made up of countless little experiences and pieces of conversation we've had over the years. It could be a line of dialogue from a movie, a picture from a book you read as a kid, a song lyric, or even a memory of an old teacher. All these small experiences come together when we start roughing out the story and the world. It's almost like we're discovering it as we write.
What can you tell us about the talents behind STASIS Totem? Mark Morgan's work with the soundtrack was sublime, and the voice acting for the main characters was so good that sometimes I felt like a kid sitting in the backseat of a car watching an awkward argument between parents. Also, the nostalgia in Moses' voice was so palpable. It made me feel really sad for the teddy bear I just heard talking for 2 minutes. I gotta say the dialogues were on point.
That all comes down to the talents of Jack Barton Mitchell. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts while I work, and one day an episode of the podcast called Derelict came on and I was hooked. I sent it to Nick and we both became fans of Jack's work long before the idea of collaborating ever crossed our minds. When we reached the point of production where we needed dialogue, I suggested working with Jack and Nick immediately agreed that it was worth reaching out. Jack was incredibly enthusiastic about collaborating with us. He took our rough notes and turned them into something special. He also directed and edited all of the audio, and I believe having the person who wrote that dialogue working directly with the actors made a huge difference. He's also the voice of Caliban, so we really struck gold with someone that talented. Jack is working with us on our next game as well, and so far, it's been amazing.
What were your inspirations for the Stasis anthology? And Stasis Totem specifically? When I saw the premise of the underwater facility, I gotta say, someone came to mind.
The world of Alien has obviously had a massive influence on us. In fact, any horror from the 80s has probably seeped into this story and world of Stasis in some way. More recently, Underwater was a big influence. I love the chunky feel of the technology in that film. During the early story explorations, I was really into westerns. I watched Bone Tomahawk and fell in love with its storytelling. The Terror, an exceptional series about the Arctic voyage to find the Northwest Passage, had a big influence on a large chunk of the story. As I said before, the stories tend to form from tiny bits of reading, comics, and news articles. It's hard to just pick a few.
Brotherhood games seems to have a very defined style. Do you play a lot of point-and-click adventures growing up? And if so, got any favorites? Maybe some recommendations?
The Dig is one of my all-time favorites. I love the old Sierra games, mainly for the gruesome deaths, and I think that has carried over into our games. The Space Quest series is also a favorite, probably due to my love for Star Trek. Nick and I are definitely gamers of the 90s. Doom, Wolfenstein, Diablo, Fallout 1, Fallout 2. Now those were the games of our choice. As far as recommendations go, one game I'll always suggest to classic adventure gamers is Star Control 2. It's not quite a point and click, but it's one of the best sci-fi adventure games ever made.
In contrast to past games within the Stasis world, I would say that Totem leans more heavily into the human drama and the horror that surrounds it. After all, it's a grieving marriage bound to a dangerous job, forced to face the horrors within Deep Sea 15 due to necessity. How did you decide to take this approach?
I believe that art definitely reflects who the creators are at the time. The first Stasis was written when I was in my 20s. Since then, both Nick and I have gotten married, Nick has had a child, we've moved cities and grown closer to our parents, all of which have undoubtedly influenced the story we want to tell and how we tell them. Early on, I was more interested in the shock factor that horror lets you explore, but nowadays, it's how people react to extreme situations that fascinates me more.
Whose idea was to create a game guide? I loved it. It was so cute and helpful.
It's a small homage to games of the past. Nick came up with the idea of the game guide and I took it upon myself to make it something special. I ended up spending way too much time on what was initially supposed to be a small side project, but at the time I think I was just a bit burned out on the technical side of things, so I went all in on the guide.
How did you manage to achieve cinematics that detailed? They were so well done for such a small team. Were they all Christopher's doing? Because, while checking out the credits, I saw the names of mostly additional writers, as well as some extra support for programming and editing.
All the cinematics were done by just one person and the incredible power of Unreal. I had never used Unreal before, so it was a process of learning this new software while producing a huge amount of work. Initially, we only had a few minutes of cinematics planned, but as I got more comfortable with Unreal, we kept pushing further in that direction. I tend to create very detailed models for the game itself, so I was able to use many of those existing models for the cinematic environments. Thanks to Nanite, there wasn't much reworking needed. Whenever there was audio in the cinematics, we had Jack edit it together as though it were a scene from his podcast. I would then animate to the sound files he gave us. I also did all the motion capture myself using a Rococo Smart Suit, so when a character dies, just imagine me flailing around on the floor of my small office.
What was your favorite part of the development of this game?
I think I love the early days of development. It can be intimidating, but there's an incredible feeling you get when you start to nail down the details of a story and the world, and then when it all starts to come together and actually works, it's an amazing feeling.
What are your tools of choice when working on game development? If I'm not mistaken, the game itself was done with Unity, right?
We have primarily used Unity for most of our previous games, building each one upon the framework of the last. This approach has allowed us to create a very solid foundation for our games. For 3D work, I use 3ds Max, and for cinematics, I have used Unreal Engine.
It's been more than a year since Totem was released, with very positive reviews and many prizes. What are your thoughts on how STASIS Totem was received?
I knew that Totem was a special game before we released it, and the hope was always that others would react to it in the way that we intended. I read every single review of the game and took all the feedback to heart. It's quite amazing to see how people reacted to the game and how this unusual story managed to hit an emotional chord with players.
Can we expect to see more of the STASIS universe anytime soon?
We both love the world of Stasis, and I have no doubt we will be coming back. We have some awesome ideas for where to take this world.
What should the public expect from Brotherhood games in the future?
More horror, more strange worlds, more weird characters, and more cool stories. Something different from Stasis, but still super story and character based.
Well, there you have it, friends. That was STASIS Totem. I hope you give it a shot sometime. It's a really nice experience. I will also leave the link to Brotherhood Games' YouTube page down in the description. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Your support means the world to me. So, what do you think? What other indie games would you like me to check out? Let me know down in the comments, yes? Until next time, Kalo out.